Welcome back everybody to another video from Aiden's Workshop. Today's video is about the custom hamster cage I built this summer. It is made out of maple wood and plexiglass panes, and it took me around a month and a half to build. This was my first woodworking project where I actually tried to make it look good, since most of my other projects just need to be functional. But today I'm going to tell you why and how I built this, and if you stay till the end, I'll show you the current resident of this new hamster mansion and the new channel mascot. Now let's get into the video. If you are a regular viewer of Aiden's Workshop, you have probably noticed by now that there is a bit of an underlying theme. The channel icon is a hamster, the intro and outro are a hamster running on a wheel, and the first big video was about the human hamster wheel. Make sure to check that out if you haven't seen it. The first reason for this hamster imagery is that I thought the channel branding would be unique and a good callback to the first big video that started the channel. The second reason for this is that I just like hamsters. My family has had 12 hamsters in the past, and no, we did not have them all at once. We've just had one or more at a time for around a decade, and keep in mind that hamsters only live around 2 to 2.5 years. Since I'm going to be living in a house for my last year of college, I decided that I want to get hamster number 13, and so I need a hamster cage. My family obviously has many hamster cages from our previous hamsters, but let me tell you why I'm not going to use them. The big pet store companies sell these colorful hamster cages that are way too small and way too vertical. These cages neglect the fact that hamsters are burrowing creatures. They don't care about having a 5-story cage with tons of tubes. All they really want is room to burrow. This means that hamster cages should have a large base area and a large volume of litter to burrow in. In the last hamster cage we used, the bedding on the bottom occupied a space of 15 inches by 9.5 inches by 3 inches. This means that the area was 143 square inches and the volume was 428 inches cubed. I have seen a lot of people online use large plastic tubs or glass tanks for hamster enclosures, but I really wanted to have a door on the front of my hamster cage since I think it's really entertaining when the hamsters come up to the door. I wanted to somehow combine the spaciousness of a tank with the accessibility and ventilation of a cage, and I eventually came up with this. I would make a frame out of wood, and then I would cut the cage doors off our old hamster cages and use them along with plexiglass panes to make a hybrid cage tank. I don't have a lot of footage of me making this cage since it was a lot of trial and error, but I will show you what I do have. I'm also going to skip over all the problems I encountered making this cage, since I know you don't care about them, but just believe me, anytime something looks easy in woodworking, it somehow is not. So the first thing I did was cut the cage doors and back walls off the old cages. Then I made the base of the cage and cut all the poplar wood for the frame. At this point I realized that none of my wood was cut straight, and I completely started over, this time with maple wood. My plan was to cut grooves in the frame so I could insert the cage pieces and plexiglass panes, and you can see that in this shot of all the pieces. The wood has grooves in it, and the cage pieces and plexiglass panes are all cut. Then I assembled everything, and the scary part was that everything had to go together at once. So all the silicone caulk in the grooves and all the wood glue between the joints had to be applied at once. Then everything was clamped together and left to dry. When that was done, I sanded the wood joints flush, applied varnish to the wood, polished the plexiglass, attached hinges on the back of the lid, put a handle on the front of the lid, inlaid this magnet set to keep the lid closed, screwed feet on the bottom, and lastly I poured a layer of epoxy on the inside floor to prevent hamster pee from seeping into the wood. This is the final result. All the joints fit together, the wood is shiny and smooth. I also got most of the scratches out of the plexiglass. The cage doors both work as they should. The lid also opens and closes nicely, and it lines up with the rest of the frame. The magnet inlays are flush with the wood, and lastly, the epoxy on the bottom set with a smooth surface. One feature I thought was interesting was the water bottle. On the old cages, the water bottle was attached to the outside of the bars, and then the spout would go through the hole to the inside. On this new cage, however, there's a wooden beam that prevents the spout from coming in. My solution to this was intentionally putting the cage bars on backwards so I could put the water bottle on the inside and then just turn the spout around on the bottle. In this new cage, the bedding occupies a space of 24 inches by 12 inches by 5 inches. This means that the area is 288 square inches, which is double than what it was before, and the volume is 1,440 cubic inches, which is around triple what it was before. I'm really happy with this new hamster cage, but I am not the only one who loves it. My new hamster, Milo, also loves the cage. This cage is tall enough to fit a larger wheel, which he runs on a lot. He also spends all day and all night digging tunnels in the litter, which is exactly why I wanted such deep litter. Most of the time, I have to dig him out of the litter just to find him. I will also put in some more items for him to interact with in the future, but he's very happy right now, and I'm also happy. If you liked this video as much as Milo likes his new hamster cage, then you should subscribe. I have quite a lot of videos coming up, even some metal casting videos, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.